Yes, and welcome to Vasilis Garden, folks. Now, I've been receiving a lot of emails about problems with citrus trees. A lot of people are finding their trees are drying out, dropping their leaves, yellowing off as well, not holding their fruit. So I thought let's just recap quickly on some points on how to maintain your citrus tree. Now, I'm standing next to our espalier trees. I'm going to use these as an example because recently we did a segment on this, on how to prune and shape a citrus tree for espalier, informal espalier. But what we also did back then is actually fed them. Now, a lot of trees through this harsh weather that we've experienced, not only citrus, including fruit trees, have struggled from the high levels of rainfall that we've had through springtime, and in some circumstances we've had some heavy rains, spasmodic rains I should say, through summertime, but we've also spiked up in high levels of temperature. That puts a lot of shock onto all types of plants, especially citrus trees, because they love a good feed, they love lots of moisture, but they need the drainage. Now, these trees here I pruned a few weeks ago. It was actually the lime tree that I did the pruning on back then. You can see all the cuttings on the ground. I leave them on the ground to decompose because we have so many cuttings everywhere. Unless they're a weed, we try and pull them out. Let's come over here and have a look at it, because once I did feed them, once I did prune them, I did feed them. So this has now since put on its new growth for me, and I don't have any fruit evident on this side or anywhere, but I have got a lot of foliage coming on here. Now this tree has got fruit. So if I look closely enough, I'll find the fruit. One over here, look, there is fruit. There's more fruit. And over there, over here, there's more fruit, and it's like that throughout the whole tree. But more importantly, look at the new growth. It's lush and green and healthy. Don't mind the fruit over here, by the way. So we've got, all right, you see the fruit. I'm talking about the leaves here. And why it's doing well, it's because we feed. Feed your trees. They are gross feeders or eaters, if you like to call them that, because they need to be able to put on their growth. And they are fruiting now. Come over here. Mandarin tree as well. Give me a second to get my eyesight focused onto here. Do I see fruit? Do I see any fruit? I don't see fruit, but I see a lot of new growth. But if I look closely, I've got to find the fruit somewhere. Come on, there were lots of fruit on here. Have they fallen off? You reckon, with the crazy weather we've had? I'm looking for fruit, folks. Don't disappoint me. Oh no, here we go. Now I know what to look for. This is the size we're looking for. There's one there. There's more over here just in the background there. And there's more over here. Actually, lots of fruit here too, folks. Feed your citrus trees. Look out for citrus gall wasp. I know it's cold today because we're filming it on one of the crazy cold days. We had a lot of rain come through here earlier on, but they're holding their green. Now, it's important, if you don't see any growth coming on like this after a light prune, not a heavy prune, a light prune, and you've got defoliating trees, you need to give them a prune. So citrus trees will need a good prune, and more importantly, scratch around the surface of the soil to see what sort of moisture you've got down below, because most times it looks like it's wet on top, but as soon as you scratch down about this far below the surface, I guarantee you for those trees that are suffering, it'll be the case that the moisture's not getting in down below where the roots need it the most. So keep them hydrated, and a better way to hydrate them rather than with a hose, spray on, whatever you call that, or a nozzle, trigger nozzle, maybe a drip line. We've got a drip line just over here. You can have a look at that down there. See the pipe there? That's a nice slow system to actually irrigate your trees and get the water down deep below to hydrate the ground. So if it's not hydrated once you've scratched around, don't go holding the hose there really hard and putting a lot of water in a short period of time. Keep the water at a slow drip. So take the nozzle off if you like, keep the hose end right next to the tree, turn the tap right down to the point where you can see literally just only trickling. Leave it there for 2 or 3 or 4 hours, as long as it takes to hydrate. Go back and visit it after those few hours, scratch down below and see how deep the water has gone in there and how well it's soaked. That's the best way to hydrate a plant in the ground, rather than holding a hose and trying to flood it out. Because what happens with that heavy level of water, if it starts to pull on top, it'll find this quickest exit point. And what I mean by that is if there's any cavities, any cracks in the soil, it will run down that crack and flow away as fast as it can. So it will not actually hydrate through. So by having a slow drip, you're causing the soil that's dehydrated to start absorbing, whether it likes it or not, because there's not enough pressure there, water pressure, for it to be pushed away. And that's the best way to hydrate your plants. And feeding, well, if you haven't fed, get some superfood. This is what I fed these trees, including this lemon tree, which I showed you back then was struggling. This is the old leaf. These are the old leaves. You can see them weathered and battered really hard. You can see all the discoloration. They're never going to come good. But what's coming good is this. See, that's straight after the feed we've given it. And it does take at least 4 to 6 weeks for the nutrients to kick in. And we're talking about an organic fertilizer, superfood, which is full of good bacteria that helps to feed the tree. All the new growth. This is what we want to see. Now, if your tree isn't putting any of this growth on this time of year, your citrus trees I'm talking about, in fact, all trees, because you've got a lot of summer growth coming on them now, especially when you get the hot days flushing through. If you haven't got any growth like this, it means your tree is either malnourished or underwatered. Or in the other opposite case, it could be sitting in a lot of water and drowning. And for those who are growing citrus trees in pots, Exhibit A. This is a grapefruit tree in a grow bag that I use, a felt bag. Now you can grow them in terracotta pots or large wine barrels as well. Again, top dressed with our planting mix, which has got the superfood and the black grit. Folks, seriously, have a look how clean these leaves are. Look at the size of these things, mate. Honestly, lovely, fresh, succulent growth on this. Healthy as, no flowers or fruit yet, because it's putting on the growth because we gave it a hard prune, just as we did with this lemon tree, which had a few fruit on it. We harvested, and then it got hit by rabbits. You can see that down there, see that? Been chewing it away. Really good, aren't they? Gotta love your rabbits. But look, it's been top dressed with our planting mix, and now all the new growth is coming on. It's gone ballistic everywhere you look. There's new growth here, so I can actually substitute some of these branches if I don't like the shape of it. That's the old growth. Remember that? We had some problems with the tree, or it's starting to show wear and tear, and they're the signs of it. So those leaves are going to fall off and get replaced with all these new ones, the new growth. So now we can sit back, let it fill out a bit more. It's still too young and succulent to do any pruning, but just allow it to grow a bit more, and then we'll start thinning this out and shape it up to be a beautiful open vase-shaped tree and get lots of fruit as well. So planting mix, potting mix. If you want to use potting mix, use our planting mix, but with a superfood and black grit mixed into it, and give them a good hydration. And look out for citrus gall wasp, citrus leaf miner, and all the other nasties that take control of your tree. Check out our website, vasilisgarden.com, for all the gardening essentials you need, especially superfood and black grit. It's all discounted. From me, Vasili, Maresi.